This review is of the ComEZ, or maybe Kingdom. I'm not really sure because I can't find a website. Classical Storage Master. And the front looks like that. Oh, yeah, I know. You want me to show you. Now, some of the nice features about this are right there. I will explain this to you as I go along with this. The main reason I got this is because it has a lot of mesh. Now, the only thing it doesn't have that I wanted was mesh on the right-hand side. But for $60 plus tax, I think this is a pretty good deal. The only thing that's not a good deal is I don't have enough space to show you all of it at the same time. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about the specs before I go into more details about the case and show you different parts of it. But you will need to make sure to have a smaller size Phillips head screwdriver to loosen up thumb screws and stuff like that. Well, not for watching this, but for working on the case once you buy it, if you buy it. It looks really nice in the initial photograph on eBay for all the sellers that are selling it. There are a couple little variations, and there are different sizes of it. I think there, in addition to the ATX size, there's also a micro ATX size and a mini ITX size. And in the ATX size, I noticed that some sellers are selling them with fewer bays than I got. The dimensions, by the way, you might be interested to know. The width is 8.07 inches, which is 205 millimeters. The depth is 16.92 inches, which is 470 millimeters. And the height is 18.5 inches, which is 480 millimeters. So all in all, it's pretty spacious. Even though it's not a full tower, it's not even as big as my Corsair 5000X, but that's okay. Now, if you take a look at what it offers, this expanded view doesn't actually show you everything, but please note that there is on the top a mesh to cover the, mesh filter to cover the mesh on top. I don't know why they put it there, since that's usually an exhaust area, but hey, it's held in place because number one, that area is recessed a bit, but also it's got magnets glued on all the way around. So you could actually move it to that right-hand side where you see that little bit of mesh there, if you want to intake air from there by removing the hard drive bays. The hard drive bays are not displayed in the correct area, and it doesn't show the power supply shroud in this image. But you can see that the front panel should have a dust filter in it as well. My unit did not come with it, so I'm requesting that they send that to me. And you can see there are 3 140 millimeter fans in the front and 1 in the back. You can also see that the left-hand panel is mostly mesh. And I can tell you this is a solid design. Now, the input-output panel in the front has only got one USB 3.0 port and 2 USB 2 ports. It also, however, has both a headset and a microphone jack, and even my Corsair doesn't have both. It just has one, which is wrong. And it's got a restart button that is not recessed, which is irritating, and it's got a power light and a storage light. As far as the maximum CPU cooler height, it's 160 millimeters. The maximum graphics card length is 295 millimeters unless you remove some or all of the hard drive bays, in which case it would be up to 400 millimeters. And I don't think there are any graphics cards that are actually 400 millimeters long at this time. At least not that I'm aware of. And you can do mini ITX, micro ATX, or ATX motherboard. And you can do a maximum PSU length of 200 millimeters unless you remove the hard drive bay that's in the bottom there, in which case you can probably do 300, maybe even 400 millimeters long. I don't know if there are any outside of server power supplies though. And as far as fans and AIOs are concerned, this image is a little bit misleading. So In the description, it tells you you can put up to a 360 millimeter on the top or on the front, but it doesn't mention putting one on the back. Which it says here you can put a 120 millimeter radiator on the back. You can also put a 120 millimeter fan on the back, 3 120s on the top, 3 120s on the front, or you can do 2 140s on the top and 2 140s on the front, or a combination. Additionally, you do need to remove the hard drive bays pictured here in order to install that front AIO. But you see that mesh area there? It also opens up that mesh area so that, assuming that the screw holes for those bays match up with either an AIO and or fans, you would be able to put something there as well. There are a total there of 4 double hard drive bays for 3.5-inch hard drives, and then underneath the PSU shroud, there's another one of those bays that could also hold a single 2.5-inch STD, and there are also 2 STD 2.5-inch single bays. Now, one thing this particular picture gets wrong for my case is on top of the shroud there are 2 single bay 3.5-inch hard drive trays as well. You could also buy 2.5-inch trays and install them inside the hard drive bays if you don't want to have hard drives. Next, we can see here removing those 4 hard drive bays allows you access to that mesh, at which point I would take the dust filter on the top and put it over that area no matter what, unless you're planning to intake from the top, which is not ideal. Better off intaking from the front. The remaining space where there is mesh could be used for fans to pull air up from that lower area. And here you can see that there are 7 slot ports and 2 vertical graphics card slot ports. However, these are punch outs, so once you remove them, you can't put them back in. You'd have to buy ones that you can slide into place to cover up those holes, which is, not ideal, but most people probably will never have to worry about that. I will note that the metal is black steel. Back to your regularly scheduled program. So here is the front. And as you can see, perhaps, there are 3 spaces for 120 or 140 fans here. It is currently mounted with the Kingdom fans, 3 140s, and they're really, really cheap. In fact, the top one is broken. One of the fan blades is broken. It was rubbing against the case, or not the case, the ring around it. And when I adjusted, I discovered that blade was actually coming off. So I've contacted the seller, and they said that they'll send me a replacement fan as soon as they can. So next business day is what they claimed. Now this is the left-hand side. So as you can see, there's plenty of mesh there. It's not a full mesh, but it's got lots of mesh. So if I want to, I could get some small cable ties, and this does actually come with cable ties, and I could actually mount fans here. Now on the other side, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, because there is actually this mesh right here. So what does that mean? Well, we're going to find out, because we haven't seen inside yet, have we? But let's not forget the rear, because everybody loves looking at rears. So we got a little bit of mesh up here for a little bit of ventilation, and then we've got a 120 millimeter installed Kingdom fan. Ooh. And the sticker is kind of nice, and you'll see what it looks like, don't worry. This has got 7 ports for slots, plus you can do a vertical GPU. And the vertical GPU size can either be a maximum of 295 millimeters, that is, or 400 millimeters, which is pretty good, I think. Now, it's called the Storage Master for a reason, and we're going to find that out. right now. Oh, by the way, you will need one tool. You will need a screwdriver, because when I was trying to remove these thumb screws, somebody tightened them with something other than their thumbs, or they have really strong hands, because I could open some of them, but I couldn't open all of them, and I had to have a screwdriver. So definitely get a screwdriver ready when you receive this, and you can unscrew it part way to the point where it's kind of hanging out there, and then a little bit further, and then you gotta just kind of force it off a little bit. That's all, just a little. Don't force too hard. Yeah, I know. And then it's a little bit awkward coming off of that side, but you just pull it a little bit, and off it comes. And now we can see why it's called a Storage Master. Look at that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 double 3.5-inch bays. And then to add to that, there's another bay here and another bay here. That's 10 3.5-inch bays. But don't get too excited yet, because I haven't shown you the other side. It's gonna be interesting today. Now again, screwdriver, the first time you open any of the thumb screws, you're liable to be wrestling with it. Urgh. Oh, I almost forgot to show you the top. Well, you saved the best for last, right? Lots and lots of mesh that's held in place by magnets only. So it's very easy to move it around, which, hopefully you're not going to be fondling your case all the time and then, oh, oops, I messed it up. Oh, no. But, I know. I'm not as funny as Daweed. Have you ever gone to Daweed Does Tech Stuff? Because he's a funny guy. I mean, really, really funny. I wish I could be as funny as he is, but I'm too old. Your humor curdles as you get older. Anyways, so take a look at this. So we've got a power switch, and very conveniently located next to that, we've got a very easy to depress reset button, which to me is a no-no. You do not want an easy to press reset button next to anything, okay? On my current case, I've got the reset button next to where I've got the jack for my headset. And sometimes when I'm plugging in my headset or my speakers, I accidentally press that reset button. So having it right here, and it isn't quite as sensitive as the one on there, but it is pretty sensitive, is not good. So I really wish that manufacturers would be smart and they would recess the reset button so you don't actually reset your computer whenever you go to reach for something else. Yeah, it's annoying. We also get, we get 2 USB 2.0 ports. Oh, how exciting. So you know what these are great for? These are great for your mouse and your keyboard, because mice and keyboard do not need fast transfer rates. Even if you're a super gamer, you don't need USB 3.0 even for that. So, if it's USB 1 even, that's okay. But if you actually want to do this, use this to plug in stuff that's cool and fast, like, transferring from your phone, or from having a camera hooked up, or sending data to your backup system or whatever, you definitely want to use the blue one here, which is USB 3.0, not 3.1, not 3.2, not 3.2C, but 0. But I guess beggars can't be choosers, and for $60, we're definitely beggars. So this is a mid-tower. They also sell this model in smaller sizes, in case you're interested in, I think Micro and ITX are the other sizes, but I could be wrong. The only place I could find this that I can recall was on eBay. So yeah, good luck. I could not find the ComEasy or Kingdom website. The only ComEasy website I found was definitely nothing to do with computers. Right, did I miss anything? Oh, one of the things that I like better about this case than on my case is on my case, I have to plug in my headset into the back, and I have to use an adapter because of the way they designed the sound stuff. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. But this one actually has a port for headphone and a separate one for microphone. So I would really like to have that on my case, but I don't have it on my case. I only have one. I only have, and it just, it irks me. All right, so now that I've been tantalizing you with the fact that I opened up the right-hand side and I didn't show you it because I'm mean that way. Should I show you? I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag. But yeah, okay. And keep in mind, I've got this sideways right now. So yeah, you get your bag of goodies, which was loosely dangling from a loosely, oh, and it came completely undone. Twist tie. And it's got cable ties. It's got standoffs, plastic standoffs. I think there are 3 in there. It's also got bolts. Screws come to a sharp end, and these do not. So bolts and metal standoffs, and that's all. And I can't show you this part yet because I really want to save that for later. You get another double 3.5-inch drive bay. Now, if you are somebody who's crazy about using SSDs, the SATA SSDs instead of using the M2 SSDs, you're going to need to get the trays that can be mounted inside these 3.5-inch bays so they can hold 2.5-inch devices. But if you just need a couple, look at that. 2.5-inch bays for SSDs. So that's nice, right? And on top of that, if you take a quick look here, you can see that we've got a nice cable management system that is actually pretty easy to use. And unlike my Corsair 5000X, where they designed it with to use Velcro ties, which is great until you actually have enough cables going through those Velcro ties that you can't close the right-hand door. That's annoying. But Corsair, they just, yeah. Anyways, so we've got a total of 12 3.5-inch bays and 2 2.5-inch bays. So make sure that if you're buying this for storage for a NAS or some other kind of thing like that, that you have a motherboard that can support that many devices, because otherwise, no, it's not going to happen. Now, one of the great things about this is that these bays here, and the 2 bays here are all removable. So if you decide that you don't need any hard drives, or you only need a certain number of hard drives, you can remove all the excess, which opens up a lot of space. Now, if you're going to do that, I'm going to recommend that you start by removing the ones that are blocking the extra space for a graphics card. So if you're going to mount your graphics card vertically here, you're going to want to look at it and say, okay, well, I'm going to have to definitely get rid of these 3. So that still gives you 2, 4, 6 more that you can put in. If you're going to be mounting it on the motherboard, then you're going to have to look at where it is. Probably one or both of these will have to be removed depending on how many slots it takes up, and depending on how long it is, but up to 400 millimeters if you remove some or all of these. Now, another nice thing about being able to remove all these drive bays, and notice that they are accessible from either side. So you can access them this way, you can access them this way, whatever makes you happy. And there's even a shroud. And here's the kingdom symbol, which is why I keep on mentioning kingdom. It's also on the fans on one side, not the side that you... Now, it's weird because this fan, you can kind of see the sticker there. But for these fans in the front, the sticker is facing inside, so you can't currently see them because the hard drive bays are in the way. But anyways, if you come back over here, now the reason for this mesh becomes obvious. And I wish that they had actually put some a filter on it like the one on the top, but they didn't. And I think, however, you could just go like this, and that would actually be better, because why do you need an intake mesh on exhaust on the top, which most people are going to use this for exhaust, when you could put it here after you get rid of your hard drives, because then you can mount. Now let's just double check here and make sure about this. This is, let's see. So this looks like it's not quite as wide as I thought. I think you can do 120s here. Yeah, you can do 120s here, I believe. Not sure how many you'd be able to get in there. Or you could mount an appropriately sized AIO. Now, I wouldn't recommend a 120 AIO, because unless you're absolutely desperate because you bought the micro ATX or the ITX, and that's all the space you have for an AIO, you don't want to get an AIO that small. But you should be able to get, let's see, how long is this area here? Oh, well, you can't do a 360, but you can do a 240, I believe. I'm not exactly positive about this because I haven't actually measured the distance between the holes to make sure that what it's going to accommodate. But it looks like you could get a 240 in here, or you could get a couple of 120 fans in here. So that's nice. Now, there's one other thing I wanted to show you right away, and that is the thing that I've been hiding with my hand right here. And this is the other reason why you'll probably want to replace the fans that come with this case. How sad. With other fans. I mean, the sticker is cool, but it doesn't justify Molex. Yes, it's all daisy chained together using Molex. Now, if you don't have a problem with using Molex fans, which means you cannot control the speed, that's fine. No problem. Unless you're planning to buy a fan controller that connects to Molex fans, you're going to be stuck with these fans always running at one speed. Not ideal. The alternative to doing that would be to buy some 2-pin or 3-pin, 2-pin plugs, so that you can at least plug this into something more modern than the ancient Molex, which I was using back in, what was it, the 1990s? Yeah. Ancient technology. Why are you still using this? Hello? I guess in some places that's the only option they've got, maybe. Right. Anyway, so you will need a screwdriver. Before I forget to mention it, this is supposed to be for 140s, but the way they've designed this, it looks like you could put 120s in here too. So that's another plus. And all right. So I wanted to show off the Kingdom emblem one more time because I do like that emblem. It's nice. Is this case perfect? Well, obviously it uses Molex. It uses USB 2.0 on the front, where you don't necessarily want to have stuff like slow stuff like keyboards and mice plugged in. You want those cables out of sight, right? But they didn't think that was important, I guess. Or maybe they were just skimping. But I suppose if you look online long enough, you'll find a replacement for the USB and sound stuff right here that would fit this. I don't know how easy it would be to find one. I didn't bother to look. But, theoretically, you can upgrade it, right? And they don't offer any options because you can't even find the website for the company that makes this beauty. Now, here's something else I wanted to point out about this. When you feel this, it's light. I'm not sure, I would say about 15 pounds perhaps. And given that my case when empty is probably like 30 pounds, maybe more, this is nice. I know that there are some people out there that think that thicker and heavier is better, but let's be frank here. How many of you are going to use your computer as a table or as a seat? Hopefully none of you are stupid enough to do that. But if you are, I think, unless you are a porker, this is going to be just fine. I mean, you retire, someday you retire your wonderful Kingdom case, and then you say, well, I need a place to sit, and I might as well put a cushion on top of this. It'll probably support your weight. It feels strong. Even though it's light, it feels strong. Now, the front grill here is made of plastic, so that feels kind of flimsy. In order to remove it, you have to do this. I hope I didn't just break it. Nope, I didn't break it. Whew, I'm always nervous about doing that. Oh wait, I did break it. Yeah, so it is flimsy. Well, that's a shame. So the whole thing broke. Right there, all the way down to there. So, hooray. That's irritating. But anyways, you can see the fans. Now, one of the things I noticed right away, aside from the broken blade, which is right there, just dangling by a thread, is, I don't know what happened here, but there's all this, I don't know what that is. Something got rubbed against here and kind of shredded the edge of the fan. No big deal, it just looks kind of crappy. But, I obviously will not be using these fans in this case, unless I'm just not caring about speeds and stuff like that. God, that's annoying though. And there is no intake on this. That's also annoying. So, let's see, what did I forget? I feel like I forgot something. Oh, by the way, this does support ITX, micro ATX, and ATX for the motherboard. And there is no removable panel. It looks like they have a space to put a panel here, but there isn't one. Now, there are variations of this case in this size. I saw one that had fewer drive bays in it and a couple other minor differences. So I would like it very much if they wouldn't make this quite so flimsy. I would like it very much if it was all USB 3.2 on the top. I would also like it if there was an intake mesh covering, that was the blade, see? And covering the fans on the front, so it isn't just this very, very coarse mesh that isn't going to filter out the dust and stuff. I would also like it if there was a panel back here covering this space, or at least giving us the option of covering it if we can. I think that would be kind of nice, especially since they seem to have designed it with that idea in mind, and then just, I don't know, they changed their minds to save money, I don't know. And the Molex, come on, really? Molex? Come on, this is 2023. Oh, one thing I did want to also point out is that it does have an intake mesh for the power supply, which is important. You don't want your power supply getting gunked up with dust and whoever knows what is in your house. I mean, cat fur, dog fur, chinchilla fur, I don't know. But it's a simple plastic filter that you can remove carefully like that and put back just as easily. It's not held in place with magnets. But unlike my 5000X's intake mesh for the PSU, which doesn't filter much of anything except for the coarsest of materials, because I've been running it for a year now, and there's almost nothing on there except for a few hairs. So this is much better. Corsair, you could learn something from this. Duh. Oh, so they copied from whoever else in regards to how to this bottom drive bay here. And I say that because I have basically the same thing on my computer or on my Corsair, and it's held in place with a thumb screw right there, and then you just, oh my, oh, it's also got a lever to release, and you release that thumb screw right there, and then there's a lever that you have to depress a bit right, oh my gosh, there. So, unlike my Corsair, which offers 3 different locations for this bottom bay, this one only has a single location. And that's okay for me. I'm not going to be using it anyways. And in fact, I'm not going to be using any of these bays at all, most likely in this. And if I do, I'll be very choosy about which one I keep, because I may want to have this open for the addition of an AIO or some fans at the very least. So I'll be taking all these out. They're all just held in place with regular computer screws. Sadly, if I can show you this, you can see that there's this gap here, and if you look, the fan is way down there. So this fan is going to be cooling off the PSU area, and that means it'll blow on the hard drive bay down there if you've got that in there. And most of the air from this fan will not be hitting what's above the shroud, except for this fan, this particular bay, a little bit, because it goes all the way out to here, but mostly it's not going to be very helpful for anything up above, which is okay. I like having air being intake to the bottom of the case, helping out whatever's down below to help keep it from overheating. That's fine with me. The port covers. Now this is a little bit of a complaint here, because they've given us these port covers and they're knockout port covers. So that is to say that once you remove one of these port covers, which are permanently attached, once you remove it, you can't put it back in. So that's, a cheaper feature on this particular case. I would prefer to be able to reinstall the port covers, simply because that allows me to cover up ports that I am not using, or maybe I removed the wrong one and I want to put it back on, or maybe I changed something out and I need to use different ports. Well, you can't cover it up. Once you remove it, you remove it. Except for, and here we go again with a screwdriver. Well, okay, run away like that. Except for, well, even with this one. Even with this one, they are permanent. Yeah. So, that is another point of dissatisfaction for me. But all in all, setting aside the fans and the front and the other things that I've mentioned, for $60, this is a good deal. Now, if you don't need storage, there are a lot of other fans out there in the price range, same price range as this, that offer you RGB fans, ARGB fans. They offer other benefits that don't come with this particular case. I watched a video from a guy who did a tier list of the best budget cases. I noticed that, if I'm not mistaken, every single one of them was a smaller case than this. Now this is a mid-tower, but it's a short mid-tower. My 5000X is bigger than this. If I had knowing what I know now about cases, I probably would have seriously considered getting this case instead of the double the price that I paid for the 5000X. Now you're saying double the price, that would be $120. Yeah, I paid approximately $120, $130 for it plus taxes. That was on sale. It's very, very frequent that the 5000X goes on sale, and they drop the price down to as low as $120, $130 depending on the colors. Like the black one's going to be cheaper than the white one. There's really not much else that I can tell you about this. It does have about 1-inch legs, so you have enough ventilation underneath so that the power supply isn't going to be choked, which is, fantastically important. You don't want to choke your power supply by not having enough airflow underneath the case, because some of the coolest air that's going to go into your case is going to come from underneath. And that's extremely important for your power supply, right? So, good deal. Not perfect, I guess, when you got a skimp and you use this kind of mounting pin where there's pressure that has to be applied to install it and pressure to pull it out. It's inevitable that bad things are going to happen, which is really annoying. Well, I guess I'll be contacting the seller about that because, I did want to mention, I told the seller about the broken fan, and they're going to send it on next business day. So I'm going to make sure that they also send me a replacement front panel because, it's cheap. It shouldn't, I could send the whole thing back, but it's probably going to cost them more to send a new one to me than it would for them to just send the panel and the fan. So far they seem receptive. Mesh on the bottom here. Can you see all that mesh down there? You could also mount a couple of fans probably on the top of the shroud, since there is mesh there, which, you can pull air out of the shroud area, and that'll be cooler air. Obviously, you don't want to put a fan above the PSU, and you don't want to have the PSU shooting hot air from it itself into the main compartment. But yeah, you can do that. I know a lot of people want glass so they can see what's in their case, but look, guys, it really is not that challenging to remove that panel, okay? It is not challenging at all. So if you want to show off what's in your computer and your friend comes over and you're like, hey, look at this, I've got all blah, blah, blah. Just remove the frickin' panel. Get mesh. Don't waste your money on glass panels or a solid metal panel, unless you're going to mod that solid metal panel by cutting holes in it and stuff like that. It really just doesn't make a lot of sense. I understand, some people are just going to stay there. They're going to get high and they're going to stare at their case for hours. Oh, or maybe they're going to be on LSD and they're going to, But honestly, most people buy a computer to use the computer, not to stare at the pretty lights that are inside. They stare at the pretty lights on the screen. So my advice is, if this is the right size for what you need, like if you need an EATX, you can't use this one. This is too small for an EATX. And if you don't mind the flaws in this design, this is really an excellent choice, especially if you need a server with lots of storage space, or you need a NAS or something like that, backup computer or whatever. Really, really a superb choice. The only bad thing for me, okay, is that there isn't an external, there isn't a bay for external access to, say, a DVD player or a Blu-ray player, or maybe a fan controller or something like that. And that would be the only other thing that might be nice for this computer case to have. But, I guess you can't have everything, right? That's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.